Our top story tonight on Gravitas is from India's neighborhood. It's about Pakistan, it's about Bangladesh. Bangladesh has descended into chaos while Pakistan is witnessing an uprising against the government. Bangladesh is struggling to restore order. Both the countries are in a state of disarray, to say the least. Both have failed to protect minorities and are struggling to end the endless cycle of extremism and violence. Let's start off with Pakistan. The country is on edge. 6 security personnel have been killed in clashes that have broken out between the opposition party supporters and the police. But who is making the headline amid all of this? Not Imran Khan, not Shehbaz Sharif. It is Bushra Bibi, Imran Khan's wife. You heard that right. With her husband in jail, his wife, Bushra Bibi, has become the face of the protest this week. In fact, she has galvanized support for Imran Khan and energized his supporters of Khan's party. The PTI have dissented on the streets of Pakistan, demanding that the government release him from jail, almost always appearing with her face and head covered. Bushra Bibi has been leading the charge in the marches of PTI. Sitting in a car, she asked the PTI supporters to march to D Chowk, which lies at the heart of the capital. This after a planned rally on November 24 was thwarted by a court order. That order from Islamabad High Court had cited the visit of the Belarusian president to the country as the reason for disallowing mass gathering. But the PTI still held the protests in different paths. On Monday, supporters started a march to Islamabad from the outskirts of the capital. Ahead of the protest, Bushra Bibi told PTI supporters, and I'm quoting here, "This is not just about my husband, it's about this country and its leader." She addressed the PTI workers at a rally from atop a container placed by security forces to prevent the protest. She vowed to fight for Imran Khan's release until her last breath. But Bushra Bibi's political baptism by fire has also come at the end of a series of court cases as well as imprisonment. And now, as she takes center stage, declaring that there is no turning back, the Pakistan government is on the verge of facing yet another challenger. Have a look at the visuals on your screen. This is Islamabad today. Pakistan authorities resorted to firing tear gas as protesters gathered to demand the release of the jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan. In fact, as per authorities, the demonstrations demanding Khan's release turned so violent that it led to the killing of several security personnel, 2 PTI protesters, at least 28 security personnel, 30 PTI workers were reportedly injured. But that's not all. Pakistan's northwest was the scene of sectarian violence. Last week, in the flare-up that broke out between the warring tribal factions, over 80 people were killed in Kurram district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The violence erupted when gunmen fired on a convoy of Shiite Muslims. The deadly incident triggered retaliatory attacks on the Sunni Muslim community. The sides eventually announced a 7-day ceasefire on November 24. But you see, this is not the first time. Pakistan's border regions have been the scene of deadly military offensives against Islamist and separatist insurgencies. The federal government in Islamabad and the military, which has an oversized role in domestic affairs, have also eroded democratic norms and institutions. In 2019, Islamabad passed a law that granted security forces in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa sweeping powers. Those powers included detaining suspects indefinitely or without charge. This is the sort of authoritarian governance model that has enraged the people of these regions. And that is why Pakistan continues to witness this endless cycle of violence. The political turmoil as well as security issues have only worsened Pakistan's economic woes. Let's now also talk about what's happening in Bangladesh. It's a sorry state of affairs, to say the least. In the latest, Hindu leader Krishnadas Prabhu has been arrested. He demanded safety and security for the Hindu community in the country. The Hindu leader reportedly has been arrested for advocating what should be a basic democratic right. His arrest immediately resulted in protests. As per reports in Bangladeshi media, at least 1 person was killed, 6 were injured on Tuesday after a clash broke out during a protest in Chittagong, demanding the release of the Hindu leader. Prabhu, also known as Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari, faces charges of sedition filed in October. He is accused of disrespecting Bangladesh's national flag when he led a rally in Chattogram last month. He is a prominent Hindu leader. He is also associated with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as ISKCON. Today, India has condemned his arrest, with the Indian Foreign Ministry urging the Bangladeshi government to ensure the safety of Hindus and other minorities in the country. In its statement, the Indian government highlighted the multiple attacks on Hindus and other minorities by extremist elements in Bangladesh. The Ministry of External Affairs also noted that there are several documented cases of arson and looting of minorities' homes and business establishments. There are also reports of theft, vandalism, desecration of deities and temples in Bangladesh. Highlighting these incidents, the ministry said, and I'm quoting here, "It's unfortunate that while the perpetrators of these incidents remain at large, charges should be pressed against a religious leader presenting legitimate demands through peaceful gatherings. We urge Bangladesh authorities to ensure the safety and security of Hindus and all minorities, including their right of freedom of peaceful assembly and expression." In fact, India also expressed concern about the attacks on minorities who are protesting peacefully against the arrest of the Hindu leader. The Hindu community has been demanding stronger legal protections, as well as the dedicated ministry to handle minority affairs. Chinmoy Krishnadas's arrest comes amid tensions over minority rights in the South Asian country. Since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ouster, the country has seen widespread political violence. The new interim government led by Mohammad Yunus has been criticized for failing to curb the spike in violence against minorities. The country has fallen into utter chaos. And that chaos has opened the doors to Islamist extremists. Student protesters have been seen holding banners of the Islamic State group. They are openly calling for a caliphate. Women are reportedly being harassed for not wearing the hijab, for quote-unquote exposing their stomachs in saris. Fringe elements are enforcing their own version of the Sharia policing. In videos that emerged online, women were seen being attacked with sticks if found alone or without a burqa. One video even shows a woman being made to do sit-ups. During Durga Puja festivities last month, Hindus, remember, were asked to pause music during Azan. Before the festival, Hindu temples and idols were vandalized. It's complete and total anarchy, and it's absolutely unfortunate. The disturbing reports coming out of Bangladesh have only added to the growing fears and amplified concerns about the safety of women and minorities in the country. It is in response to this increasing wave of extremism that thousands of Hindus have marched in Dhaka and Chattogram. It is in response to these disturbing incidents that people like Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari led a rally demanding swift action against radicals. But what has Mohammad Yunus done? What have the authorities done? Put the Hindu leader in jail. Today, lawlessness rules Bangladesh. Politics of vendetta, mob violence, targeted attacks have unfortunately become the new normal in Yunus's Bangladesh. The Nobel Peace Prize winner, who is leading the interim government, also has the leader of the radical Hifazat-e-Islam group in his cabinet. This group, by the way, seeks the rule of Islamic law. Yunus, in fact, has sought to appease the extremists, including meeting with some of the Islamist leaders. Yunus has also lifted bans on Islamist groups, freeing jailed terrorists and convicted jihadists. We are talking about the chief of the Al-Qaeda affiliate group, Ansar al-Islam. Hundreds of more Islamists have escaped from prisons. And if that wasn't enough, the Yunus government is also rewriting Bangladesh's history. There is a concerted effort to erase or obscure the role of its founding leader. Statues and portraits of the first president of Bangladesh have been defaced or dismantled. At the same time, there have been arrests of critics and political opponents, even scholars and journalists, often on fake charges. Just in the first week of October, over 7,000 people were arbitrarily jailed. The caretaker government also recently revoked press accreditations for nearly 200 journalists. Journalists have also been arrested and slapped with trumped-up murder, abduction or assault charges. And to make matters worse, Political detainees often face physical assault in courts. In the month of August, a 75-year-old retired Supreme Court justice needed an emergency surgery after he was brutally beaten up in a magistrate's court. But even though the situation is dire, the caretaker government would rather let it all collapse around it instead of actually fixing the issues and calling for an election as soon as possible. Bangladesh has been under an interim government for almost 4 months now. That's long enough. The country is also due for an election that will establish a permanent, stable, democratically elected government. The UNIS government has indicated that the polls will be held in little over a year or not until reforms are made. But what are those reforms? Where are the reforms? When will Bangladesh see true democracy? Without sincere efforts to take the country towards the path of democracy, the extremists in Bangladesh will only stoke more hate. And if that happens, Bangladesh could become a mirror image of Pakistan. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.